Hey guys, how you doing? Meg here from Up Meg. Today I am talking to Sean Shepard. So let's talk a little bit more about your band, Antighost. When did that start?
Well, that's a difficult question because I don't know if it necessarily started. I guess our band has a few different starting dates, and if you want to get really philosophical with it, the first time it started was when I first picked up a guitar. So for me, I've been playing guitar for as long as I can remember, since middle school. And every kid who's ever played an instrument has always, whether they want to admit it or not, they've always thought about being in a band at one point or another. So whether you're taking piano lessons on the weekends or whether you're playing guitar with some friends, you always think about that. And I thought it was normal, yeah, every kid who plays guitar thinks about playing music, but I feel I thought about it a lot more than anybody else did. And as time went on, I would try to start bands, and I would try to play music with some friends, try to get people who were interested in actually taking it somewhere. And I could never really find anyone who was really committed. It never went outside of our garage, or it never went outside, a couple rehearsals. It never went anywhere, and that was always really frustrating for me. So in high school, I started making friends with some people actually in the radio community, a couple of them who actually produced and mixed music. And one of them ended up becoming a really good friend of mine by the name of Mark Stewart, who now currently owns and operates Radon Studios out of Albion, Michigan, and they just moved their location to Bloomfield. And that's actually where we recorded our EP. So in high school, I knew Mark, and we made some music together, but he was already in a band, and he was really focused on that. So once I was in college, it was kind of this had all been bottling up inside me, and I'd been writing songs, and the songs I was writing actually I thought started to sound good. I thought they started to sound original, and I was I don't want to just let this opportunity go by because I don't have anyone else to play this music with me. I'm going to record it, and I'm going to release it, even if it's completely by myself. So I called Mark one day, and I was like, hey, I've got, a ton of songs that I want to record, and I want to make an album. Can you help me out? And he actually, because he owns the studio, it's his business. It's where he makes a lot of his money. And obviously it's expensive, audio equipment's expensive. So he gave me a flat rate price that he gives every band that records there, and he knocked it down a little bit because we were good friends. But what was really rewarding was when we went in there to record, I had run out of money, and we had only recorded 3 songs, and he was like, this stuff's really good, and I really like it. I don't want money to be the reason why we stop recording this when I think we could do more with it. And he's like, you've got more songs, let's do some more recordings, and we'll not make money an issue. So we ended up recording a 6-song EP. We recorded 7 songs, only 6 made it on the EP. And then I released it, and I was super proud of it, and it was my next step was to get a band. So I wanted to record the EP to play shows with and to find people who were serious about music. And once that happened, I actually put an ad out on Craigslist looking for a drummer, which seems like such a weird way to meet band members. But of all the weird emails and responses I got from that, one of them was from Dylan, who's my current drummer right now, and he wasn't 40 like everybody else was. Everyone was they already had a kid and a mortgage. So it was really cool to meet somebody who's my age, in the area, was into that music, and was also really serious. So we linked up, and that led to he introduced me to a good friend of his named Nick, who ended up being our bass player. So it was kind of untraditional. It was the record came before the band. So technically the band started when we recorded the EP, but we weren't really a band until about 2 months after it was released. And now we've been a band for a few months now, and it's just working out really great, and I think our sets are getting tighter and our rehearsals are getting better, and we're working on some new music at the moment, and it's all really exciting. So it's kind of like it keeps giving birth to itself, because the EP was when it started, and then when Dylan and Nick joined the band is when we became a band. But now we're working on our first record where they're helping me write, and it's not just me writing, so it's like it keeps evolving, which is really cool.
So the EP, is that what got onto iTunes and Spotify?
Yeah. So what we ended up doing with it was what's really cool about like the internet now is musicians can get out there really quickly, but that's also like what's so dangerous is like in a way everyone's a musician now, because you can just put up something really quick in GarageBand and then submit it everywhere, and then all of a sudden you're technically a musician. So I take a lot of pride in the fact that we spent a long time recording and like making these songs sound great, because we didn't just want it to be something that you put up on YouTube and tell your friends about. This is like what I want to do, and we're serious about this as a band, so we wanted to make sure it was like high enough quality for radio, high enough quality to where we can make videos for it, and those videos could air on TV, and we wanted it to be, in a sense, professional sounding. So us recording it, and then once I got the final mix and the final master, I uploaded it through like a third-party website, who basically what they do is you pay a small fee, and then they'll upload it to like iTunes and Spotify and Tidal and Google Play, Amazon, all that stuff, and they copyright it for you as well. So once that was done, I also uploaded it up to like our YouTube channel and stuff. So if you go on Antighost Music on YouTube, you'll be able to find like our whole album there, and that'll be like our official one. And that's all like the same quality as it would be for if you bought the CD or if you listen to it on iTunes or Spotify or something.
Yeah. Okay. So you were talking a little bit about your band members as well. Mm-hmm. I know you said that you mostly have written the songs.
Yeah.
And then you got the band members after.
Yeah.
How do they feel like about the songs? Do they mostly just like play the music, or do they have a say in what comes next?
Yeah, it's really great because I don't know, we have like this weird untraditional like non-traditional chemistry that just kind of works. I bring all the songs, but I'm not really like so married to every idea that I have where I'm like, all right, this is how you're gonna play it, and then play it that way, because that would just be like a robot. So when Dylan joined the band, my original drummer, who helped me write on the EP, he kind of just helped me write. He didn't actually record on it or plan on being a member, but he was a metal drummer, so he did a lot of stuff that was like really fast, like heavy metal fills. So I remember one day in rehearsal, Dylan was like, like this song is just, it's so hard because like that's not the style I play. Like I can learn this, but it's just so different from what I usually do. And at that point I was like, dude, like you're the drummer now. This is your song to drum on. Like do what you want to do, So they don't. I think they come into practice. Dylan and Nick come into practice with the sense of like, this is, we're all equal here. Just because I write the lyrics and I sing, it doesn't mean, I come up with 100% of the music and they have to just do what I say. So Nick makes as much changes to the bass line as I would make in a guitar riff or something like that. So it is a little bit more stressful at times being the one who kind of comes up with the concept of a lot of the songs and like the lyrics. So it is really refreshing to have another set of ears to bounce it off of, because with my first EP we went into the studio and it was like, these are my songs, and it was just me and a producer. It wasn't very easy to just figure out whether I was doing well or not, because it was like he was the only feedback that I had. But now I can go in there and I can play something, and I've got two guys who I really respect and really trust in a musical sense, who will say, that worked, that sounds great, or what if we did this, or get out of here, Sean, that sounds terrible. So that's really, it's humbling, and it's really cool to have. I think it's what makes our band kind of work together so well. But we're also writing our new record right now, so I'm doing a lot more of like the writing on my own, and then I bring ideas to practice and we kind of flesh out those ideas. So we're trying to rehearse a little bit more, but it's difficult because like some weeks we'll go rehearsing twice a week and then we go back to rehearsing once a week. And it's also the holidays are coming up, and everyone's busy with school and finals, so it's difficult to cut out time for it, but it's something that we're all passionate about and we take very seriously. So we're doing our best to make sure we stay on top of things.
I know you're originally from the east side of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Are your band members as well, or are they stationed in Grand Rapids?
They're actually from Grand Rapids,
okay.
Both of which are going to different colleges around here. So like they don't even go to Grand Valley like I do. And like I said, I met Dylan through Craigslist and met Nick through Dylan. So they're nearby here, which is really cool. So it makes rehearsing a lot easier than if I lived on the east side, or if I lived 20 minutes, 30 minutes away or something like that. They live close enough to where we can rehearse. So
you said you're planning on having a new album come up soon?
Yeah, so we're trying to get back in the studio to record. We've been working on a lot of stuff that's really exciting, and it's different because it's not just me. Before, a lot of people listen to the EP and they're like, this is a band, it sounds like a band, it's good. But the truth of the matter was, it was just my music. It wasn't really, I would say it's equally in part my producer's music. My friend Mark Stewart, who produced the album at Radon, like he did a fantastic job collaborating with me and working with me. And they always say the producer is, like the fourth member of the band. And in this sense, Mark was the second half of the band. But at the end of the day, one guy and a producer doesn't make a band. So the record that we came out with was extremely different from anything I've done with Antighost, and the songs that we've been writing in rehearsal and the ideas that we're having, like we're even making minor changes to the songs we recorded on the EP, so when we play them live they sound more like us, and they sound more like us as a band instead of just what I did in the studio. And I think all those changes have been 100% for the better, so that's really exciting. So once all these things had begun happening, we were looking at it as like, wow, we're really evolving quickly, and we're really coming up with what we think is a better sound, and we just wanted to be able to release that sooner. So our goal is to get back into the studio. We have plans to get into the studio next year, probably around March, and see if we can record this time like a full-length album instead of just an EP. And the record that we're writing right now is really exciting because it's a concept record at the moment. I mean, everything's subject to change, but I've always really liked concept albums, so I'm working on making our next record a concept album.
Is there a specific theme,
yes,
that you're going for? Can you tell us, or is that more of a secret?
I would kind of like the music to. I don't want to say anything now because it could all completely change. I could have a total revelation, but I also do want the music to kind of speak for itself. I'm a big fan of when somebody releases something, I would rather hear what the fans is a weird word to say, but we do have fans. There are fans that have been tweeting at us and talking to us on Facebook, so I guess I'm entitled enough to say fans. I just feel weird doing that. But I'd rather have the people listening to our music interpret it for themselves. I don't want to release my art and say, this is what it means, this is why I wrote it, and that's the story. I would rather release something and have everybody else say, oh, that's interesting because I thought it was about this. Because every song on that EP, Wolves and Sheep, that we released last summer, it has multiple themes and it has different themes. So, for instance, the first track on our record, Ugly Dogs, is completely split into two storylines that you can read in two different ways. One of which is about drug addiction, and the other is about a very bad relationship that's kind of on its way towards ending. And our third track on that EP, Firefight, you can read it in two ways. One of which is gun violence and school shootings, and the other of which is something that I struggle with, which is night terrors and having nightmares and insomnia and trouble sleeping. So I like having multiple meanings, because I don't ever want anyone to read my song lyrics and be like, okay, that's what it's about and that's all it's about. I like that there's multiple interpretations, and I like that there's different things for different individuals, if that makes sense.
No, totally. I really respect that, because I think if you go out there with a straight, like, this is what the album's supposed to be, no one's going to see it in a different perspective. And they might just shut that album down right away because they're not even intrigued by it. I remember, as you were talking, I just remember sitting in London with you one night, and you were talking about one of the songs you wrote. I think it was New Year's. And it seemed like that song really just, like, came out. Like, it just, like, everything you've ever... I don't know, it might sound cheesy, but what you felt, you just put it exactly down.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking a little bit more about that song?
No, yeah. I would never put anything into my music that I wouldn't want, like, out into the world, because for me it's such a useful tool in getting my emotions out. And a lot of times I can't phrase something correctly in spoken word, but if I put it into a song, it's just like the emotions there and the feelings there. That's a really difficult song, because there's really nothing to hide behind in it. The guitar on it is 4 chords, and it's the same 4 chords for the entire song. They don't change. So in a lot of other songs we have, like, guitar solos and chord changes and bridges and choruses that can kind of distract from the meaning, which isn't the intention of those things. But in New Year's, it was very intentional that I wanted to have the lyrics and the storyline of that song be what it's about, and I wanted people to listen to it and hear it and kind of follow along and be able to relate to it. So it's really just about a relationship that you're having with someone, and struggling with the feelings that I think everybody kind of feels in a relationship. Like, nobody knows themselves or nobody knows you better than yourself. So it's really easy to go into a relationship, whether it's a friend or someone that you are intimate with, and to have that relationship and look at yourself as like, I'm not worth this person, because you know all your flaws, and sometimes it's tough to see the flaws around others. So that song is really just about not feeling like you're worth the person that you're with and feeling guilty about that, and then kind of seeing that ugly mentality kind of take over that relationship, and in a way, like, infect it. And then you start to see, well, this person's realizing the same thing, and now they don't care about me like they used to, and our relationship won't last. And ultimately just wishing that you could go back in time to when none of those bad thoughts were around, and you could just enjoy each other's company as if it was the first time. So the title New Year's is thinking forward and thinking, going into a new year, maybe things are only going to get worse, and you wish you could just go back in time to the last year, to the previous year, and just pretend like everything's okay again. So it's really, I think it's really dark in a really beautiful kind of way, because I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to with their relationships. Unfortunately, it doesn't really have a happy ending in the song, like some of my other ones do. But I think it's important, because I think it's a way to heal, and I think sad music is the most important kind of music. And not all my stuff is sad, but I think that song is really difficult. At least when I play it, it's difficult for me to sing, and it was difficult for me to write, but it's also very therapeutic, and it definitely helped me get through some pretty dark times in a relationship and out of a relationship. So I hope that it can do the same for the people who listen to it.
What's your favorite song off of the EP?
Oh man,
I know that's probably a trick question.
That's that's something that I usually ask other people, is what's their favorite song. I think my favorite song I'll give you two because it's too hard to pick one. My favorite song that I wrote going into the EP was Skies, which is our second track, and it was one that I thought was going to be really like not popular. I didn't think people would listen to it. I didn't think people would enjoy it, but it was a song that I loved so much for myself because I related so much with. I really kind of poured my heart out onto paper for that one. So I was like, no matter what, I'm going to record this. It was the second song I decided to put on the EP. So that one was my favorite going in, and I love the way it turned out. But Extinct Instinct, which is a tongue twister, and it's the very last song on the EP, song number 6, was the first song that we recorded. And it sounds so different than how I originally wrote it. And me and Mark were kind of tweaking it and changing it throughout the recording process. And it just evolved into this crazy beast of a song that really rips through, like, it kind of cuts above everything else. And I think it really rises to the top, and just, it's my favorite sounding song. And I think it's like as close to perfect as perfect can be on that EP, and I always find myself rewinding it because it's really, really good. And it sounds cocky, but I love that song. I think it just sounds so cool, and it's just such a blast to sing. And it's the one that I think I get the most feedback on from other musicians. When I talk to other bands, they'll always be like, that's my favorite song of yours, and it's my favorite song, especially because it was the first one we recorded and it just came out so naturally. So so I'd say Skies and Extinct Instinct are the two big ones.
You wrote these songs. Like, what difficulties did you face? I know that's a tough question.
No, it's an easy question.
Oh, it is easy?
Because there's a lot of them, yeah. Writing is something that's like, it's so great to do when you know you're not going to do anything with it. Because it doesn't matter if something's not perfect, or it doesn't matter if something gets changed. So if I'm writing a song and I know that I'm not going to release it anywhere, it's like, okay, well, if I make a mistake here, or if this lyric doesn't rhyme or whatever, it's okay, because no one's going to hear it. But as soon as I realized that I was going to go into the studio and going to record this at Radon and try to make something happen with it, it was really exciting, but it was also really challenging, because it was like, now, you know, if I don't write this song correctly in my mind, you know, it's out there forever, and I'm going to live with that mistake. So it was really intimidating, but really, really exciting. Probably the hardest thing I had to do was cut down the songs, because I would say for the Wolves and Sheep EP, I wrote probably close to 30, maybe 40 songs, and about 18 of those I actually wanted to record, and I had to cut those 18 down to 3. And then when Mark said we had space to do other ones, I added another 3. So that was cool. But cutting, you know, almost 40 songs down to 3 songs is really difficult to do. So I really had to look at it objectively and be like, this is my best work, this is not. Which is hard, because there are some songs in the EP, or some songs that aren't on the EP, that I really wanted to be on there because I really like those songs, but I got too attached to them. So a big thing as a musician is to not get too attached to your work, to look at it objectively and be like, okay, maybe I really, really like this song, but it's not that great, you know? Just because the lyrics are really personal to me, it doesn't mean it's an exciting new song, and I shouldn't record this one so I can record this other one, which is ultimately better. So that's probably the toughest part, because it's like choosing your favorite kid. You know, you make all this awesome stuff, or at least in your mind it's awesome, but the reality is only maybe 10% of it is worth putting on a record. So
when do you think the next record will be out?
Oh man,
Maybe just like a ballpark answer, like a year, next summer.
Well, I would say the summer, because March is when we hope to get into the studio. So if we can start recording in March, maybe like
Want to leave it as a surprise?
I don't know. So I would say midsummer is when we would hope to have it, because we also want to try to put together a tour maybe at the end of next summer.
That's what I was just going to ask you, actually.
Yeah.
I know you had something out online about kind of like a battle, a competition.
Yeah.
Can you go a little bit more in detail about that?
Yeah, so we, our friends over at 89X, which is a radio station in Windsor and Detroit, was a station that I grew up with as a kid. They showed me all my favorite musical acts. So, like, my dad did a good job of showing me all the 80s hair metal. But then once I, like, branched out onto my own, I was like, I need to find, like, some modern music. So, like, Linkin Park, The Used, Avenged Sevenfold, My Chemical Romance. I found out about all those guys through 89X. So they are, like, my heroes throughout my childhood. And I sent them our EP, and some people over there became really big supporters of us, and they loved it, which is so awesome. So they put it on air, and they put our songs on air, and we entered into their Battle of the Bands, and we got in, and we made it to the semifinals, and we ended up losing to the winner, who goes by the name of Justin Alexander and the Classics. They're a phenomenal band out of Detroit. They went on to win the competition. They opened up for Jimmy Eat World, which was super cool, and you couldn't pick a more deserving group of guys. Super humble, super talented, really, really cool. So, but what a lot of people didn't know about that was our first show. So, we got to play to, I would say, between 100 and 130 people.
That's pretty big.
In Detroit. Yeah, it was a big crowd, and they weren't all there for us, but a lot of them were there. So it was cool because a lot of friends and family came. People took party buses down. Like, my mom's friends were there. It was just a lot of people, and it was really awesome to have that, like, support group being there in the crowd. So we played our first show, and a lot of people came up and were telling us, you know, we did great, blah, blah, blah. People that we didn't know, which was super awesome because they always looked blown away when we told them it was the first time we played together, and we had only been a band for like a couple weeks. So all that stuff was really reassuring to hear. We have more gigs that we're trying to get lined up, and we hope to play more in Grand Rapids and more in Detroit and make our way around the state. But we've got some friends in Nashville who go by the name of Surprise in Bangkok. They're a super, super talented group of guys, and they're hoping to put together a tour this summer. I don't know if any of this is for sure, or if it's just something that we said, like, you know, over a couple of beers, but we're hoping to tour with them because they're super talented. We really love not only playing music with those guys, but hanging out with them. So if we could do like a Midwestern tour, that would just be really, really great. So hopefully that's in the near future. We're like putting together some music videos right now that we're working with. I really hope I don't butcher the name. I believe it's Bunny and the Hat Productions, and they're going to shoot some music videos for us, which is really exciting. And my good friend Allie just did a photo shoot for us. And her website's Alexandra Cross Photography, and she's a super talented photographer, and she shot us for free, which was super nice of her and saved us a ton of money. So we have a lot of people that are like willing to kind of support us and forego these costs, and they're willing to give up their time and a paycheck just to help us out, which is a huge reward. So we want to be able to, you know, give back to them, especially when we're playing shows. So we want to keep playing more shows, and, you know, even if it's at your apartment, Meg, if you want to book us to play in your living room, we'll be happy to.
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys have a great start, and it's just going to keep getting better. I'm really excited. I hope you guys actually get a show in Grand Rapids and a tour going. I'd love to come and bring some friends.
Absolutely.
You guys can check out Antighost online. You have YouTube, Spotify, iTunes.
Where all of our social media is Antighost Music. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, we're on Spotify, iTunes. If you can find us on pretty much any streaming service, and we've got a couple music videos that are on their way to our YouTube channel. So make sure you check them out.
Awesome. Well, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah,
you guys
thanks for having me.
Check out more. Hopefully next year you guys will stop by and do an acoustic set.
Yeah, I think that's in the works.
So stay tuned for that. So enjoy the rest of your week. Have a fantastic day. And I will see you guys next week on Shut Up Meg.